I'm relying on the bishop's homily here this morning for my homily tonight. I'm going to steal liberally from him. It was very inspiring. The first reading about the call of Abram is about this journey, calling Abram out of his own land, which must have been very difficult. I think of refugees and most immigrants who don't leave their homes and their families by choice. But for most of us, we don't have that kind of experience in life, although plenty of you, your parents did. Don't have to look too far back, and some of you did. For most of us, the journey is more inward and challenging, and especially Lent. Lent is about this inward journey. The gospel, Jesus takes these three, Peter, James, and John, up the mountain. And speaking of Abram, if they were at all thinking of Abraham, they might have, it was even a name change, right, for Abram. He became Abraham. If they were at all thinking of Abraham, they might think, what, is he taking us up the mountain to sacrifice him like Abraham was supposed to do with Isaac? Remember, Abraham calls that off, or God calls that off in that bizarre call. We can reflect on what that was about another time. But they knew something special was going on, and indeed, there's this incredible transfiguration of Jesus. What an experience! Jesus, just this glow, and the cloud, and the voice of God, and the appearance of Moses and Elijah, and then Jesus says, and by the way, don't tell anybody about this. It seems like maybe a wasted experience, but we're now told about it later. And for these disciples, there was the challenge to do something with that experience, those three disciples. Even then, the voice from the cloud, God's voice says, "This is my beloved Son, listen to him. Listen to him." And that's a challenging call, isn't it? Jesus was transfigured. They saw Jesus in all his glory. And the call for these three and the call for Christians is to, in our own way, shine like Jesus did. To model ourselves after Jesus' life of virtue. And the most striking thing, at least for me, that the bishop said this morning, this afternoon, I guess, was, and I'd never heard this before, was that our call is to have most of our focus and energies not so much on the healing and the growing of those virtues that we find more difficult. Some are especially difficult for us, some a little bit difficult. He said, rather, this third category, spend most of our energies on the virtues that come more naturally to us, whatever those are, different for each of us. Still spend attention and prayer to those others, but how can we really shine with those virtues that come more easily to us? And that's something we can maybe especially focus on during Lent, all of us. For each of us, what are those two or three virtues that God has really given us an attachment to, an ease with? You know, for some, it's courage. For others, it's hope or faith. For others, it's maybe temperance. For others, prudence. And maybe you don't have to think about the traditional virtues, although you might really take advantage, if you're on campus, of, the lighted up virtues on the engineering building to remind you. Not the deadly sins. You don't have to follow those and deepen those. But so let's do that together during Lent. Let's let Christ really shine through us and strengthen, especially those virtues that are already somewhat strong in us.